Other than that, I don't know. There were what bands were around then. Everyone was basically doing what they would do anyways. I think high energy is just giving up, doing the best, putting out the most energy possible. I mean, there were bands that were laid back. I don't think you can. Detroit was especially, and that was just a catchphrase, the MC5, high energy. I don't think a lot of guys followed along with it.
What's one of your favorite Stooges songs?
Hmm. I like Real Cool Time. Last night, as a matter of fact, I dug out some albums and listened. I like Real Cool Time and Not Right and Dirt, Down the Street. And the one song that most people don't care for, you either love or hate it, is We Will Fall, because it was a chant, and that chant was supposed to create a relaxing mood in your mind for meditation. It was actually out of Dave Alexander came up with that. It's a pre-meditation. You chant that over and over, and it clears and opens your mind for meditation. So I don't listen to it all the time, but once in a while when I put it on, I still get that same hit. That because I remember us actually doing it in the studio, and that's why one reason I think I told you it went on so long is we were once again mesmerized by the chant that John Cale's clicking the old thing to the headphones going, stop. He finally came in and goes, the tape ran out a few minutes ago. You guys can stop now. We're like, whoa.
Oh. Now, let me ask, so like, but there was also this like seeming like destructive aspect of the Stooges. Now, how the two, it was this expansion aspect, and there was also this inwardly destructive aspect. And how did, where, is the Stooges a combination of both, or did one come later?
We never thought we were destructive. It's just people pick it apart. We never thought that we're. We never. Say what? That's true. But they were the '60s cultural revolution, trying to throw off the chains and yoke of repression by the police and the society. It was just a rebellion, like any. I take it so lightly because even like the teen rebellion of Elvis Presley, teenagers are always teenagers. Young people are always trying to find a way to channel their thoughts in an outlet. Frustration in the sense, I enjoyed it. I never really felt frustrated. Only at times, for perhaps my lack of ability on my instrument, maybe sometimes I would take that out with slamming and banging and stuff. But you'd have to talk to Iggy as far as destructive, because he basically did from the beginning of that and way years later actually destroying himself for the sake of the show, mentally, physically abusing himself to get out that Stooges kind of thing. The audience at one time wanted to see more and more. So for myself, I try to get more accomplished on my instrument, but he would have to put on the show and get more and more out there to a point where even times I thought, well, maybe he'll get killed tonight. Maybe someone will beat him up, or he'll fly off a stage and break his neck or something.
What was the difference between, let's say, the Stooges and when Iggy and the Stooges? But it seems two different aspects, two different stages of the group.
Well, exactly. That was just Iggy and the Stooges came from Main Man times, which was Tony DeFries. He had enough people telling him that he was the star, so he should capitalize on the Iggy aspect. It was always really basically the Stooges, but it was through management and just the regular business hype that it became Iggy and the Stooges. I think he resisted it at first, but you've got to go along with it because he you know, and even rightfully so, thought he was the main frontman catalyst of this whole thing, so he's going to get more recognition. So that's why it became Iggy and the Stooges.
Now, what do you think? Why and how are the Stooges an influence today, and why is there like a continuing interest in them? you told me in France there's all these records all the time.
Yeah, they're old tapes. Probably we're getting more recognition even now than we did back then, in a sense of there are enough musical, or there's enough tapes and things floating around. Probably just because it is timeless and it's honest. We were always honest. I'm glad to see that with all the crappy music that's going down now, that we still have that honesty, that you can't get past it, that basic sincerity of what we're doing. It comes across in the records. I think people are sick of all the high-tech blotto, even now still disco. It's like, yeah, I can't tell one, you know, band from the other hardly. All the girl singers, the same drum machines and the same sound, the same kind of production. I don't know, just back to the basics, which seems to happen every few years. People get tired of this or that. It's just back to basic rock and roll. When we had that integrity that still stands up today.
So do you think all the like the Michigan groups had that, like around the Grammy, that integrity?
No, not really. There was, just like any place else, there were a lot of groups. Look at the groups that have come and gone. SRC, they had their flash, but they weren't, it wasn't a show, it wasn't that original, and that's why the interest in the MC5, just original, the real originality. You've got bands that carried on, like Ted Nugent and Bob Seger, um, but Seger more as a musician-songwriter. He wasn't really considered, he was always separate from the scene, and even after a while Amboy Dukes, but Ted Nugent also conveys that high energy. It's just like any bands in any situation. I don't.
Maybe talk a little about how you guys got discovered. I mean, like, because here you are in Detroit, Michigan, and you get all this interest in you. Like, now is that something that wouldn't happen today? I don't think.
It's way different times. There's so many bands. The whole record scene is way different. It was pretty new. All the English bands, there was that interest, and American bands started coming out. It was through Danny Fields, who discovered the MC5. We happened to play a show with the MC5 at the Michigan Union Ballroom. Excuse me, and Danny happened to be there. It was the first time he saw our show. He just saw, wow, here's something amazing. And he goes, hey, how would you want to be a star? I think he said that to Jim. He goes, hey, you want to be a star? Oh, yeah, sure, right. Who is this guy, man? Get him out of here. But he went back to Elektra, and without the president, the people in powers, even seeing the band, he came back with a record contract, and we played at the Fifth Dimension with the MC5. They were going to be signed, so they brought two contracts, and Jack Holtzman, who was the president of Elektra Records, and the vice president came along, saw the show, and just on Danny's word going, hey, trust me, go with these guys. So they did. It happened really fast. That kind of thing does not happen nowadays. It was just the right place at the right time. Those were special and very different times. And that was the beauty of it. That's why I really enjoyed that time. Anything could happen. Everything was new and fresh, and you could break things down. Now music is more of a real business.
So now let's say like you're also on TV, like on the Cincinnati Pop Festival. You got attention in Rolling Stone, but I guess your audience stayed limited. Like you would tour, but like the second record didn't sell.
It did better than the first, but they've sold a lot more now.
Right.
You know.
Right. Now, why was was it that years later what is radical becomes more, or is it with hindsight? What kind?
Well, you mentioned audience were limited. Probably a lot of it stems from not being accomplished players, the songs being simple. People would see the Stooges more as a happening than as a musical group. A lot of times, if they saw the band, maybe they go out and buy the record. But just mass appeal, it just wasn't there in the music. They thought it was just too simple, too dumb at that time. You had all the English bands, you had so many things happening that you have to see it. And hitting the big pop festivals was a real boon. That Cincinnati Pop Festival, getting that bit on TV,
National
which
TV.
they seemed to really grok to, where Iggy went out and they actually held him up in the air. That kind of opened up um, hitting the road, playing more venues, getting around, trying to get a bigger audience. But it was always, it's true, it was always fairly limited. We never had great mass appeal or any kind of really musical or financial success with the Stooges. Only now, years later, the album's CD for Funhouse, which is in its fourth printing.
Already?
Yeah, fourth printing. It's amazing. I did put together a Destroy All Monsters live tape. We had a fellow that recorded, Gary Henderson recorded a bunch of shows. So I took all the cassette tapes. It was on a good cassette machine. Took them in the studio, put it together, took little crowd noises and things that band members said, sort of meshed it all together. So the French companies that are cranking out all the Stooges stuff now are going to put that out.
Oh, when is that coming out?
It's tax time in France. As soon as I see the contracts, I have two bidders. I want to see the paper on it first. So hopefully they'll be within the next couple of weeks. I'll choose and one will get the tape. They crank them out pretty fast, so I'm hoping maybe by the end of July or sometime in August it'll get out.